Hey everyone, this is Micoy once again, your TPP host, and this time we're gonna recap the semifinal action and tiebreaker action, and then we'll proceed to finals predicts for this year's TPP3. Originally, I was gonna have Rush.shoot on, but when we did the video, the recording crashed. Well, no, the recording botched because it wasn't capturing audio, but video was working just fine, but the audio wasn't working, so that's bad. That's bad news. So I have to do this solo once again. I'm sorry, Raj. Raj, I really wanted to have you on so we could do a little Plaza Heroes collab. I was even gonna promote your channel. Oh, subscribe to Plaza Heroes, please, or Poke Raj, whichever. Really supports them. Anyway, proceeding with TPP. We have the Absolute posters going up against the Full Moon Frostmods. Frostmods, of course, coming back after their horrible 7-1 loss to the Absolute posters back in week 4. So this time we're going to cover semifinal action. First off, Stab Bonds plus almost any ability, the Number Man versus Tectonic Destroyer. I think TNM played this game very, very well. Tech wasn't able to come off with the win. TNM brought a pretty interesting team, I'd say. If this can load. Yep. TNM brought weird, like, I want to say a stall, bulky offense team. While Tech just brought, your normal Celesteela, your normal Chansey, normal Mew. Like, it was pretty predictable, so TNM was able to pick up the win there and kind of dominated him 6-0, I believe. So it was pretty interesting to see that. And TNM continues his undefeated streak going ahead. Next up, Icemaster versus Jiren. This was the last game in the series. If Jiren wins, like, the Frostmods immediately advance to playoffs, and the Absol posters will be denied. But Icemaster won in a pretty dominant fashion. Again, Jiren tends to lose to more established OMM mains, and Icemaster is one of them, having competed since TPP1, so he definitely knows the pool going ahead, and Ice was able to pick up the win very dominantly. Next up, we got Ranbats, Casual.at versus Trace. Casual has had a pretty stellar run in TPP, I'd say, having earned himself a very good record. Meanwhile, Trace hasn't really played a lot. He was pretty dominant in the last TPP. And in the TPP before that. I think he competed in Rands in TPP1. And he was very dominant in TPP2. And then this one, he kind of neutered a bit, but he was still able to pull off amazing wins such as this. Highly recommend checking this series out. This best of 3 between Casual and Trace. Again, very, very good series there, and Trace ultimately had the matchup won and the win good in a very good fashion. Next up is part 2 of the trilogy of OU matches between Gray and Sterile. Gray ultimately won this. I haven't seen the games myself, but I do know that Gray is very dominant, especially in their last encounter, and here he had a pretty good team. He had pretty good teams. After checking back during the replays, I think he had pretty good teams, especially in this Game 7 right here. Oh no, Gen 6 game right here, where he brought a pretty nice team. Oh, look at that. There's a nasty-ass Ice Beam there by Gray. Let's see. And there you go. There's some misses there. There's some potentially bad misses. And yeah, Sterile got hacked. Again, playing off the fact that Sterile hasn't been the most consistent in TPP, I'm afraid. Like, he can do OU really well. Like, he's won the Tundra Cup, for God's sakes. But for this one, TPP2 wasn't just his year. And it's the same thing with BLT, with this win in the Celesteela. It's like, he can pull off amazing wins. But in the end, having to lose via hacks, not good. Not good. Speaking of upsets, probably one of the biggest upsets we have ever seen in TPP, Nate beating Kither It was an amazing win by Nate. Bringing the water with the team that he had was pretty impressive. IMO. Oh, like, yeah, having Raiko and Salamence, and it was a pretty good water team against Kither's poison team, and I still stand by the fact that if Kither had done Sludge Bomb on his nasty plot tornadoes, especially at +2 special attack, he would have won. Like, he would have won the game against this team. Yeah, definitely. So yeah, Kither had a pretty bad loss there. Nate played extremely well. Next up, we have Memory continuing his undefeated streak by beating Kesso. Again, not much to say there. Memoric absolutely played dominantly. Kesso wasn't able to pick up Memoric's pulling pattern. He's definitely the standout doubles player in this pool, and I really hope he gets to continue his lucky streak going ahead. And he definitely has. Oops, sorry. He definitely has. Very, very impressive record there by Memoric. Next up is W Sun versus Elgino. This match was not pretty. It was not a pretty matchup for Elgino. W Sun had a pretty dominant win. Again, W Sun, and just like with Memoric in doubles, like no one has really been able to contend against W Sun. Aside from FC, who has an unbeaten record, W Sun is one of the best players in this pool, especially in the Uber's AG continuum. W Sun was able to pick up amazing wins, and having only lost to Kate, I believe, gives him a certain edge when it comes to doubles. So a very, very useful tool for the Absols right there. Lastly, Shiloh versus GXE. All I can say is double kick Blaziken. It just works. GXE again continuing his great goated set head of amazing builds and creative thinking, just outside the box thinking, just works for GXE. And double kick close combat Blaziken really works, especially against Sash users. It's amazing, just amazing build from GXE. And having not played at all TPP in last year's TPP, aside from one game, having to play here and do really well, very kudos to GXE for having such a great record here and a great performance all around this tour. Very incredible. So yeah, we'll cover the Absols versus Frostmoths tiebreakers is next, but before this, where we have the other decider, the Laveridge Lopanese versus the Bouncing Bounce Suites. Two of the lowest ranked teams, as we said last video, but you can never count out a team. You never just count out even if you're a lowest player, lowest ranked team. If you just believe in the heart of the cards, you'll be able to pull it off very nicely. And I'm happy that these two teams got into the top four. Really splendid performances all throughout this tour. Let's review some semifinal action, shall we? Stab mods versus almost any ability. PokeArt 2004 versus Don Vasquez. This one, PokeArt really didn't play well, but you can excuse the fact that this game was one of the last to play. And I think she was really tired going into this match. So Dawn was able to be dominant and just generally outplay PokeArt at every situation it had. Dawn, very impressive win there. Speaking of impressive wins, Stabmon's Mix and Mega, Invalid OS versus Wumar. Invalid OS really shown in this match. It was really, really dominant against Wumar. I think it was down to I don't know, maybe it was Master Prep that just enabled iOS to win. Just excellent scouting, but you can never discredit Wumar. He is definitely one of the best Stab and Mega players in this pool. He had a really good run in the round robins, but losses like that, and not taking away, of course, from the people that lost this week. I do believe that you're all fantastic players. You can easily kick my ass in battles, but But when having the matchup against each other is really hard. So, next up is Lamp versus Papillon. We've touched on this last video, but you know it really came down to the wire, especially in Game 3. Pap could have won, but Lamp was just able to outplay him. And that what was the turn that enabled Pap to lose? We'll see. We'll see from these matches. I think it was. There's a chair, there's a toxic there, there's a stealth rock, there's the magic bounce. Where did he lose? Okay, the encore play was pretty smart there. Here's a nasty knockoff. Nasty knockoff. Earthquake. Oh, Earthquake. Interesting copycat play there, Lamp. Oh yeah, it was the Diggersby. Right. If Papillon had played his Diggersby better, he would have won there. So, yeah, Lamp. Again, very, very consistent record by Lamp. The best Rant player in the pool. Again, with these Rant mates having to keep up such an amazing record, I think it's mostly down to just having a lot of Rant experience and just being able to pick the best mons from preview in order to win. So Lamp used that and won, continuing his amazing record of I think 7-1. 7-1. Only lost to Saba. Well done, Lamp. Next up, Easy versus Splash. Non-meme this time, not the Mana Dragon crap that we saw in the last time. Easy won, and this time in 2 games. Easy just played dominantly well against Splash. Splash wasn't able to counteract from that point, and Easy was able to dominate, get the win there. Really, really good wins. And it's from probably one of the best OU players. Next up, we have JT versus PA. PA was JT's only loss in the round robins, and fortunately for the JT, he was able to pick up the win, and he was able to predict PA's Demon Mew set. Oh man, you know what shit I'm talking about. It was a great win for JT there. Very dominant. Probably the best Kamamana player in this pool. Next up was Surfy versus Vogue. Zoal. Great game, this one. Great doubles game between these two. Surfy, again, from seeing no LC in TPP, Surfy was really quick to adapt into doubles and U, especially in a very obscure, in quotation marks, tier as doubles and U. Surfy was able to adapt well. Maybe it's experience. Like maybe it's experience as being a Taurus room main. Surfy able to do well in the tier here. But this was an absolute great game. Highly recommend you should check this out. It came down to a 50-50 between these two. Very impressive. Just a very impressive game. Good showings for both. Next up, Fat Fighter versus Kate, and I can definitely tell you that this was not a very good showing for Fat Fighter. Just Fat played terribly. That's all I can say. I'm sorry to be blunt, but Fat just played terribly, and Kate was able to take advantage of it and just win. It was great. It was a great win for Kate, definitely. And lastly, Tony Flygon versus Sificon. This was just a massacre. Tony, absolute goated player, absolute insane builder, able to just dominate Sificon. I'm sorry, Siffy, you're such a good player, but you know having to match up against Tony is just really unfortunate, and having to out prep Tony, that's gonna be hard. So, in the end, Lopunny is able to win over the bounce beats. Very incredible there. So let's check out the tiebreakers and see what happened between the Absols and the Frostmoths, shall we? No, wrong link. Well done, me. Well done. Oh, man. Alright. So, yeah, tiebreakers between the Absols and the Frostmoths. Da-da-da-da. Here it is. We rolled it into a best of 3 tiers. Stab and Doubles NU, of course, picked, and the randomized tier was OU. So here we go. TNM versus Tectonic Destroyer. I really thought Tech had the win in this rematch. I mean, Tech was just outplaying TNM. It was just really well played. He had TNM on the ropes. But in the end, TNM overturned, flip reverse, turned the tables on him, and able to dominate him in the end with a really, really good set. I think... Which one was it? Which one was it that TNM was able to pick up the win? I think it was... Oh, yeah, it was the Kyurem. Right, with Ice Shard. Against against Tech's Dragon Dance. No. Life Orb, Magic Guard, Dragonite. Hey, very, very, very impressive builds from both of these, but TNM was just abnormally strong. 9-0 win. 9-0 streak. Like, I don't think BLT has the record of 9-0. Like, that's impressive, TNM. Next match that well, not next match, but the first match to actually happen before we get to the OU one. Let's talk about the Doubles NU one between Crying and Mimoric. Crying played well in the first half of this. I really thought Crying had the win here because the team he brought was pretty good, especially the circuitry, like having the Dazzling Gleam, the plus the clanged up Komao was really good, but, and I want you to pay attention to this. However, what Mimoric does is amazing. You see this belly drum? You see this Entei? Guess what's gonna happen? Well, aside from that, and that, he shouldn't have targeted the Azumarill there, but look at that! Psych up Entei! Just, how do you come up with this? And then, ultimately, it just speeds at the end. It's a really, really good build by Mimoric. Able to catch that really well, and just able to E-speed at the end. Very, very good. But play there by Mimoric was able to turn it into a win for the Frostmoths. And then finally, the second game to be able to turn her in the favor into the Frostmoths was part 3 in their epic trilogy of OU matches. Gray vs. Stareel, part 3. Stareel won, finally. 1-2 over Gray. But game 3 really was the decider because it was Gen 7 OU. But this game went to 400 plus turns. Incredible. But Stareel brought a stall team, actually. Like, he went back to his roots. He went back to his original playstyle. And was able to pick up the win over Gray in a pretty dominating fashion. And that's it. That clenched the Frostmoths into beating the Absols and making playoffs. And I just want to say, like, the Absol posters, there's definitely a good run. Like, a championship-winning run by the Absol posters. Like, having to win 2 TPP wins in a row, plus making semis here, that just goes to show you how awesome the Number Man and Icemaster, with previous team manager Bascal, like, those 3 had a really tight bond, and I think their draft plan was so stacked that they'd be able to win any tier. I wish I would see I wish I could see a BLT team that is just as stacked as this one. So potential future managers, take note. Oh, as you can see from TPP. Anyway, enough about the semifinals. It's time now for our grand finals. Oh, down the page. All right, this time grand final action between the Lava Ridge Lopanes. First time first time managers actually. He finally making it into the finals. That was well done versus the Full Moon Frostmots, TPP2 team that really wants some redemption after the last one. So here we go. I can't wait. But let's predict. So these are just going to be my opinions, of course. Disclaimer, my opinions only. So take these with a grain of salt. So here we go. Gen 8 stab mons plus almost any ability. Papillon versus Elgino 10. Elgino did pick up that amazing win over Aetha and actually brought it to TNM, even though he lost. Like, Elgino looked strong in defeat. Meanwhile, Papillon actually looked better in defeat against TNM because he was able to bring it during week 7. It was a really good attempt. And unfortunately, TNM was able to pick up the win there, but when pitted against each other, I will say that Elgino wins because he's been a mainstay in TP for so long, has competed since the very first one, and has gained so much experience from all these different varying tiers that it's unable to really prep against him. I've already faced him before this year. He's incredible. So I will pick Elgino there, 55-45. Next up, Stabmons Mix and Mega. We have Invalid OS versus Tectonic Destroyer. These two... voice crack! These two really hadn't had the best runs, but I do believe Tech had a better run than Invalid OS because Tech was able to pull up good wins in, I think it was SNM. Yeah, I think it was SNM. Especially the one against Derpy Boy, even though it was full of hacks. Meanwhile, Invalid OS had a pretty good win over Womar last week and has generally played well. But I do believe Tech is the more experienced and knows this tier better than iOS. So I'm slightly leaning towards Tectonic Destroyer on this one. Won't be surprised if Invalid OS wins, especially with Tech potentially choking. So I will predict for Tech on this one. 55-45 for Tech. Next up is Team Charm versus Trace. This time in an actual best of 3 instead of the best of 1 from week 1. Trace is generally better at Rand, so I'll definitely have to pick him. Charm, please stop slotting yourself in Rands. Go back to your cheese builds. Go back to your normal, cheesy builds. Well, Trace to win here. 60-40. Next up, Easy versus Starreal. When we did the video, Raj mentioned that Easy and Starreal actually met up in Tundra Cup, which was pretty good. Pretty amazing, actually. So they both gained experience in this tour since then, since week 1, which Easy won in pretty dominating fashion, I think. So this one will be close, but I'm going to pick Easy again, simply because even though Starreal has improved, he's just, if he doesn't get hacks, and if he doesn't, get outplayed by Easy, he should be able to take this, but I'm going to say Easy here wins. 65-35 for Easy. Next up is Jolly Togekiss versus Not a Racist. This one's a no-brainer. JT has been amazing throughout all this. This tier has been JT's playground. He's able to build incredibly well and then just push it towards the battle. Very, very experienced. Even though Nate is good, Stabmons and Kamamano, Nate can do well in certain tiers, but against very established mains like Jolly Togekiss, I don't think it'll hold a candle. So I'm gonna say JT wins 70-30. Hopefully Nate can prove me wrong, but JT. The popular consensus is JT. Same with doubles NU, like Surfy versus Mimoric. Mimoric won last time, so I'm definitely gonna say Mimoric wins again here, because Surfy, despite how well and impressive Surfy has been throughout this tour, against the best doubles NU player in this tour, I don't think Surfy he will be able to win against Mimoric, especially after last week where he had. Hopefully, we can get more intense builds such as that one. So I'm gonna say Mimoric wins here, 70-30. Next up, Frosty Ice Lad versus Fat Fighter 2. Again, pretty much a no-brainer. I think Fat Fighter is generally the more consistent Ubers player and has been the better Ubers player here. For having to garner 3 weeks in a row, I think. Even one over Kate. Pretty impressive wins. All considered. Even though Frosty Ice Lad did beat Temp in Kamamano, Fat Fighter is generally just better. So I will say Fat Fighter wins 65-35. And then finally, probably my favorite match of this week, and probably everyone's most crucial match of the week. Tony Flygon versus GXE. The best two Sim 6 players in this pool. Both build amazingly. They've built some really whack teams. Like wacky, inventive, creative builds. And I'm really excited to see what they build here. Especially with the same 6 I pulled. Because the same 6 I pulled was actually pretty good. Like everyone has a clear matchup over everyone. Which is great. So, who to pick here? Man, it's just a complete toss-up. 55-45, but I will say Tony Flygon wins this one. I think Tony has... I've just been more impressed with Tony Flygon than I am with GXE, even though GXE is impressive. Like, GXE is very impressive, and he's been able to take it against S-mods and very big Smogon names like Leru and Shiloh. Against Tony, we'll see what happens, but I'm going to stick to Tony Flygon 55-45, maybe even 51-49. But we'll see what happens. I'm generally excited for the finals. Like, even though I think I predicted 1, 2, 3, 4... 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, I predicted a tie. Holy crap, 4-4. This just shows how evenly matched these folks are, and I'm really excited to see what happens. Hopefully it's not going to be a curb stomp like Absol versus Frostmonts week 4, but we'll see what happens. So again, thank you for watching. I'm sorry again, Roch.Shoot. I had a blast recording with you. It's just that OBS is a dick and can't record audio. So thank you all for watching. Good luck to all 16 of these players. May the best team win, let's just say. And I really had a blast with TPP. I know it's been very stressful hosting, but in the end, I can definitely say that I've enjoyed it. It's been a blast, and I would definitely host again. So thank you all for watching. This has been Make It in Cinco, signing out.